recently read your book, and
Yes.
I have to say congratulations, because I know how hard it is to put the book together, because I'm trying to do the same, and sometimes it's like it's a bit messy. Um, and I would say that, like, when I was reading the book, or I would start with this, when I read your cover, and I was like, for you know exactly how it is, so you can say it. Right.
Yes, I have a copy right here. Yeah, so it's for souls that don't know where they're going, but are in the rush to get somewhere.
Yeah, like when I read this, I was like, damn, this is me.
This is you. I feel like it's many of us, and I've been there too, and at times still am, because it's always a journey.
Yeah, I know. I resonated so deeply, and when I started to read it, I was like, yep, this is me. This is what's happening. And I feel like, first of all, it's really written like extremely good, because I feel like it takes you through a whole journey of your life, everything that you are, have to, I would say, unpack about yourself. And the one thing that I really loved about your book is that you added the questions, so
Mm-hmm.
dig deeper into the whole topic. And it's not just like you're reading something, but it's actually, okay, how does this relate to my life? And there's something that I have to share. I haven't told you this before, but that exercise when you have, when we connect to the 75-year-old version of self.
Yes.
When I did that exercise, it's actually true that I was in a very emotional state at that time. I connected with her, and I started crying like hell, because it was just, I would always connect with, like, I don't know, 5 years from now or something like this. Like such a long leap. And there was something in it that was just so soothing, to know that I'll be supported and guided. And I don't know, it was just like I was just crying from the support of having this older version of self being there for me. And it was so beautiful. And I was like, okay, I have to share this with you.
Yeah, I think it's a powerful exercise that I've done actually, you know where? In the place that I've met you, which was a Tony Robbins seminar. You remember, like, before you buy the ticket in that seminar? So actually, when I did go to Tony Robbins seminar in London, it was so life-changing, because as one of the exercises that he has done, he made us, basically, he put us in the state where you actually see yourself like 5, 10, and so on years from now, and what would happen to your dreams, to your life, if you actually didn't go for it. What would happen? Where would you be? How would you look? How would you feel? And in that moment, I could literally shiver, because I could see myself in a place where I would not want to be in a million years. And I was like, wow, I need to do it now, So for me, that was life-changing. And this is why I wanted to include different version, more female version of it in my book, which, as you see, resonated with you and hopefully with other readers.
That's amazing. I'm really curious, how was this process of writing a book? Because it's like, I always encourage people to, follow their soul and to deliver to the world what their soul came here to deliver. And sometimes that's not easy. So what would you say?
Yeah, so writing a book is not easy, but it's not difficult. I mean, it's not very difficult, meaning if you're committed to something, if you have a goal, you can definitely do it. However, you need to be in emotionally right moment of your life. So for me, I really wanted to write a book 3 years ago. Because I've read so many books, and I was like, yeah, I also have a message to share. But if I would have written the book 3 years ago, it would be just paraphrasing many other great books that I've read, and then life happened. I mean, I met my love, and I had babies, and I got busy, and actually, when I was pregnant with my second baby, somehow I really felt this urge in me that this was my time, that I've matured enough to share my my message. And now, because I had one baby and was waiting another one, it kind of gave me so much drive, so much fuel, and it did become my why I wanted to share this message. And I mean, as you know, I also dedicated this book to my daughters because yeah, I think it was kind of my responsibility to do so. I really felt I was called to do it in that moment. Now, of course, there is a practical part of writing a book, which is commitment. And I did have my blog by then, and I did write, not every day, but I did write. And I decided that basically, I think I wrote my book from first page to the last within 6 months, because I was actually really committed. And I said to myself, you know what? I need to finish this book before my baby is born. And my baby was born May 27. And I was like, I need to make it done. So yeah, so for me, it was a personal why that really helped me to, continue and find the time. And I know that a lot of mothers would question, how did you do that? Because you have the baby. Baby's always on you. But as I said, when you really, really want to do something and it is very important to you, you do find time. Maybe when, on your break, on your lunch break, before you go to bed, maybe while your baby sleeps, you do find the time. So as long as it's important to you.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, I felt the same with my process. I started writing 3 books already, but 2 of them are like gone, because I'm like, it would be the same shit that is already on the market. I would just be eating the stuff. It would just be, and luckily I was at the point where I was like, there was something within me just having total resistance for keep on writing them. So I just started from scratch. But so far the 3rd one is going good.
But it's good because it gives you practice. And then in the same time, I've also wrote so much stuff 3 years ago, and I read at it and I'm like, wow, I've grown so much. Because it's not that it was something wrong that I wrote. It's just that I've grown, I've evolved, and I no longer think like that. Yeah. So it's beautiful to have this material in your drawer, in your laptop, and revisit, because it's as your journal.
That's amazing. Well, one thing that you touched in your book was definitely overcoming fear and overcoming the stories that we created in our head about who we are and what we're capable of doing. And I know that this is what often comes in a way of us following our dream or following our passion or following our bliss in general, is because we are afraid how it's going to be accepted, and what will people say about who are you to write this book or whatever. So what are some of your advices on how to overcome this, or what are your strategies around fear?
Yeah, you see, before I used to agree feel the fear and do it anyway, but it's really easy to say that, but to do that is hard. And I think I found a different way that works for me personally, and that is to accept the fear that it's always going to be there, because it's encoded in our DNA since ancient times. And so because it's always going to be there, it's not going to go anywhere. So if you are constantly living with fears and making them decide what you're going to do or what you're not going to do, then in the end, your life is going to be waste, because you followed these mini dictators, as I call them in my book, and you are not going to achieve anything. And excellence and fear kind of goes together if you want to achieve something. And for me personally, I learned to accept it because I know they're going to be there. But I elegantly move them aside and continue to do my job and share my message and my voice as a woman that I came here to do. because that is the only way. There is no really, win the fears, because they will always be there, no matter what we do. And when we have kids, we will have even more fears, so we just have to continue to live with it and accept that they are there.
That's a good one. I think that actually fighting the fear of do it anyway, I think that's a very masculine way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's really important to just be accept it, but keep on going. Would you say that traveling helped you overcome this fear in general, or get you in the mood of being okay with it? Because that's one thing that we have in common. We lived in many different places around the world, and that's how we met also in London.
Yes.
And now both of us are not in London anymore. You're in Italy and I'm in Slovenia. So,
yeah.
But how would you say that traveling changed you, or why would you say that this was important part?
I think traveling is huge. And I don't mean traveling, you go on a holiday, you sit by the pool and you leave, which is nice, money well spent, I suppose. But I've actually talked about living abroad, studying abroad, working abroad, or any other possibility that you may have, maybe love story, who knows? If you are there, you're just gonna face so many obstacles that are going to help you and shape you as a personality. For me personally, I was very curious from early on, and I think the younger I was, the less fearless I was. I would say that. I was not afraid really of going and seeing what's going to happen. It was easy for me. I would say that with years it actually became harder to move to a new country and start again, but I've done it 5 times, so I should know. But I think it definitely helps you with fears, because you face the unknown waters, because it's kind of easy to be in the place where you know everything. But I think once you go abroad, where you study or you work or you live for some time there is so many people that you're going to meet from other places. And to me, they were the most interesting people. Look at yourself. Because they are these, people that come from their own cultures, and they bring little culture of themselves wherever they go. And it's so interesting. It's so lovely to see people that, take a chance, go abroad and live a little. And I just think it's wonderful. And it definitely helps to start living with fears in a more harmonious way.
Yeah. I can relate to that. Traveling is so much fun. How do you cope with, you have 2 kids now, so I wanted to, how do you cope with not traveling as much now during this situation?
Well, I guess not many people are traveling anyways at the moment, but when you have a family, everything becomes a little bit different. You no longer, for example, let's say now I'm in Italy and I moved here 1 month ago, and it's not easy, but you are no longer alone. You know what I mean? Everywhere that I've gone before, I went by myself, and really there was no one really, holding my back. I was on my own, and I was only responsible about myself. Now with the family, it's like you have your little mini universe, so wherever you go, you bring it with you, and I guess, it is a little bit easier, but it's still, you need to work on your language. For example, I do understand Italian, but I'm not speaking it perfectly, so it is challenging, but it's fun. And I guess for me, for someone who is really so curious, I really need to be moving, constantly, to feel the spice of life, to understand that I'm still living, I don't know if I will be 85 and still traveling, but it's a beautiful thing to do. I love travel. as you know.
Yeah, I mean, since you already mentioned it, like when we met and even the last time we saw each other, you were single, we were talking about all the potential guys. We had like very girlish conversations all the time. So I really wanna hear the story of moving from that chapter to this chapter right now, or especially like, yeah, just in general. I want to talk about love, and I want to talk about
love is also travel, and love is my favorite topics. I guess. Well, I think. I mean, okay, there is dating and there is love. I think dating is like a market where you go, where you put yourself out there and see what you get, or you go after it. So there is men and women, and in the bigger city you are, the more difficult dating is, because there's so many options available. And if you live in a big city like London, you can meet a new person every single day. You know that. So even if you are on the same, let's say you are looking for the relationship and you meet a guy, he's maybe unavailable or he just got out of the relationship. So timing is the most important aspect of if the relationship is going to work. Of course, there's values and etc., but timing really is important. And when you find the right person, it may be not the right time. But if it is so, I really believe you will reconnect with that person again when both of you will be ready for the next step to move on. Even if that means to go apart for a little bit of time, that's okay. Or maybe something better will come into your life, you know? And I think for me personally, the transition has been, I've dated around, I've seen how the world works. And when I met my love, it basically happens organically, you know? I don't even know when I moved into his place, to be honest. I don't remember a conversation that I would be moving into his place. I don't remember the conversation that, yes, we're going to have children next year. Everything happened very organically. And I think that is the right way how the relationship should go. Because if a woman is in a relationship where she constantly needs to fight for things, for attention, for time, I want this, I want that, and it feels very heavy, it's just mentally draining. And you don't want to be in the relationship where it's mentally draining. And also, frankly speaking, it's probably not your relationship. So
I was on point. I love it. But I feel like it's still, for a lot of women, it's hard to move from like that stage of letting go of the stories that we created in our head of how things should be, and the whole Hollywood, you know, scenery. And you even mention it in a book of like the whole idea about the soulmate having the same values, having everything the same, aligned, same thoughts, same ideas, same desires. Not gonna happen.
Yes, no, it really is so wrong. Like the rom-com, especially American, is easy to watch, and it does really affect how we grow up. Or even the fairy tales as little girls that we watched, we thought that there will be a prince. I mean, at least that's how I grew up. I thought there's going to be a prince, he's going to come save me, and I don't have to worry about anything. That's how I grew up. And when I went to America, for example, women had a very opposite way of living. You know, they said, "What? We don't need men. We can do everything on our own." Like, and it's like where the world clashes. But I don't think one or the other is right. I think it's somewhere in the middle, like where you still have to be feminine, but be able to take care of yourself and be able to be in the place where you can attract a right person for you, but drop that idea that that guy will do you can talk to him, you can sing with him, he's gonna love the same foods, you're gonna go travel and you love the same travel. No, and in fact, you're most likely gonna be completely opposites, because that's what is gonna attract you initially, you know. And then of course you need to move on to the next stage of how to maintain that in the relationship, but that is already different stage.
Yeah. But I feel like the one thing that it's important to overcome, I remember in your book you said that you had this, that you were, wait, I have it, change to please. And that's something that I was like, as soon as I read it, I was like, yep, this is me. And also before I had this brand, my previous brand was named Selfish Contributors, just for the sake, because I wanted to remind myself that it's okay for me to put myself first. It's okay for me to, you know, put my needs in front of other people's needs, and that I don't need to please people.
Yeah, because it's different to be selfish or to be self-loving for yourself are two different things. You know, selfish is when, you know, you do things just for yourself. You only take, you don't give, and you don't care really about the other person. You just want that person does things for you, and you don't care about them at all. But if you actually invest in yourself and take yourself, you know, like invest in yourself, I mean in education, in your hobbies, you know, in the things that your heart wants to do and loves to do. Invest in yourself, and the more invested in yourself you are going to be, the more happy with yourself you're going to be, and the more happy you're going to be with yourself, the more others will see it, and they will want what you have. And especially men, they love to be with a woman that knows her price, that is happy with where she is, and she's vulnerable. I think it's very important, because a lot of people are so scared to be vulnerable and raw and honest. But I think it's important, because, I mean, I don't mean you have to cry every single day, but I do mean you need to open up to a person, and don't be scared if that person does not take it in, you know. And if that person doesn't take it in, also, that's probably not your person. I mean, not your partner, not your potential partner. But you definitely need to work on yourself. And once you, I mean, work on yourself is never really done, but at least when you are in that stage, I think for a woman, actually, once she has a relationship, she breaks up, and then there is a period of growth. Is a period when she really needs to think and focus on what she wants to do with herself and what life she wants. And when she has done this growth, she's really in the place where she can meet a person. And that person is going to be like, wow, I love her energy. I want more of it, because she has done work on herself.
That's so on point. And that's why you get people can buy your book and start working on yourself.
Yeah, that's the beginning.
It's the perfect outline to dig deeper in yourself and realize the areas where you haven't put so much attention to yet, because it definitely covers them all. Okay, I have to peek for my questions.
Okay.
Okay, since we just mentioned like the working on ourselves, what is your perspective about the unpacking stuff from the childhood and the families thing from the parents?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, we all come here on a spiritual assignment, so we all come here to grow, to learn, and to teach. And I really believe that we pick our parents and our place of birth way before we are born, because basically this book is all about actually your soul. So your soul truly knows what's best for you, and it's your strongest source. So your soul chooses your parents and your place of birth for a reason, because there is something for you to learn, to grow and overcome. And your parents are here to teach you a lesson. Sometimes it's not the most beautiful lesson and really painful lesson, but sometimes even parents that give extremely a lot of love to their children later on, they struggle in life to find that kind of relationship or that kind of love. So there's no right or wrong way of parenting. That's not what I mentioned in this book. It's more about we really have to be grateful the way we were raised, because that helps us to we have to be thankful for our parents, first of all, for giving us life, and secondly, for teaching us those lessons where we decided we want to be just like our parents, or we want to be the opposite of our parents. And I speak about my book that I'm from a very small town. And when I was there as a teenager, it was really boring for me. You know, I thought, oh, like, I really wish I could be somewhere else and do something else. But there I was. And only years later, I was like, wow, this place gave me drive that I have today. This place gave me different way I see things, and now I can appreciate because I do have those things, you know. And when you go from here to here, you really can appreciate it. While you are here, it's very hard to appreciate it because you don't really like it. But today, I think I'm so grateful for the lessons I had, because it gave me the, you know, humble personality that I have, and also a lot of things that I'm still working on as a grown-up, and especially now as a mother. This stuff comes back to you, and especially when you become mother, you know, you really have to constantly work on yourself. That's what I'm saying. The work on yourself is never done, but the place and upbringing where you come from is so essential to who you become. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I imagine that it's gonna be also, you know, when your girls are growing up and you will see them at different ages, I think it's gonna be like, not now in the beginning, but I can imagine it, it's gonna be like, you know, reminding you of your period of that life, and then you healing some other stuff that you didn't even know about. I think that's a beautiful thing about parenthood.
Yes.
It's a beautiful mirror, usually.
Yeah, because we all of us still have the inner child, and sometimes I look at my daughter that is almost 2 years old, and I think, if that's how she feels, it brings me some memories back that I was even unaware of. So yeah, truly, your children are your mirrors, and I think I'm also very grateful that I actually have daughters, because I think it really, really helps me to understand girls better, you know, and how I want to raise them and who I want them to be in this world.
That's beautiful. And I have to say that you have the most gorgeous daughters ever. Like, I'm like...
Thank you.
Especially, like, I know when Sophia with her eyes, she's like having like the hugest eyes on this planet.
Yes, she has big eyes, yes. Big brown eyes.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's how it is. If you mix, what is it,
Italian and Latvian, yes.
The good combination. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, so I feel like, yeah, I want to add this one. You mentioned that every single person has their thing, and that's something that, like, I was always like really passionate to talk about with people, because I basically grew up believing that I had zero talents, that I have nothing important to give to this world, because in school it was like, yeah, I was good with many things, but I was never like, I didn't have one specific thing. I didn't sing, I didn't, you know, it was like, usually you see these talents being like, oh, this is what it is. And if you have any of this, then it's like, oops, you're just without any talents.
Yeah.
So how did you actually, or I will ask you like this, how can people discover their thing?
Yeah. I think their thing, okay, some of us will, for most of us, it's really a journey. For some of us, it may take 5 decades to arrive at the thing that they're passionate about. Maybe they have to work in 5 companies, get fired in 3, you know, and go through this cycle of really finding themselves. And it may take years. And that's why there are some inspirational stories where people really found themselves at 50, at 60, at 70, and so on. But I do think that when it comes personally to me, there were little clues very early on. When I was in school, I really liked writing. Now, I'm from Latvia, so I was writing in Latvian, and actually my English sucked. My English was so bad. I had really bad grades, and I could not believe that, you know, one day I would write a book. I mean, if somebody told me that like years ago, I would be like, me? No way. I have so bad grades. And, but I always liked writing. And when I was after high school, I was thinking, what should I go to study? Because everybody was going to study something. I thought maybe PR. So I went for PR, and I dropped out a semester later. I went to Italy, and then I went to Spain and whatnot. And I was really trying to find myself, because I thought that maybe I will find it in a country. Maybe I will find it in a certain place, the place where I would belong, and that's where I would find my it thing. But then I went to America, and I chose to study fashion design at the time, because I thought, well, I'm a girl, I like fashion, I like, you know, why not? And later I changed it to fashion business, and when I was graduating, I clearly knew that fashion is not a thing I wanted to do in my life. And actually, before I picked what I wanted to study, I remember that I was like, I really like writing, but the only thing I know to write is actually Latvian. So I would love to go to study journalism, but I'm not going to, because my English sucks. And so I there and then labeled myself that I'm incapable of writing in English, you know, and then I went trying myself in different careers and different jobs, and really feeling that it was not my place, like I didn't belong there, I didn't care about the job, and it made me feel miserable. And years later, again, I started to feel again this urge, like I have so much to share, and I don't know how, like I need to have a channel. And I started writing. And when I was writing, it felt really good. And I was like, maybe this is my thing. And then a couple of years later, I was like, I do want to write a book. So that's how it was for me. But it's a journey, and really, it's so rarely that we can know what we want to do when we graduate. And that's why to have so much pressure of deciding what we want to study when we finish our high school, I think is not the best way, because we also make mistakes. I mean, I made one.
I know. I think that the educational system that we have, we really should do something about it, because it's not, I don't know, it's just, I feel like we are, just put in like, okay, this is how the thing should be, and like there is no creativity in its space, you know. You have to evolve and keep on trying stuff and failing and trying again, and it's interesting how like small thoughts that we have in our head, like you had, like, you know, I'm bad in English, how that could potentially stop you from writing a book, and like that would be a disaster because it's a really good book. So
yeah, and then the Soulgirl would never actually see never see the day, because I would chose myself. Nobody else told me I was bad at it. Nobody. I mean, my grades, maybe my teacher in my 6th grade, but who cares? Who cares about it today? And so I think a lot of us label ourselves that we are not good in something, and this is why we don't go for it, and that's just such a shame.
Yeah, that's true. Well, since we are in the middle of chaotic times right now, and everyone is talking, like, you know, social media is full of follow your dreams, do your thing, keep on with your passion, just go for it, set your goals, blah 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 blah. And I'm often very tired of all this goal setting stuff, and like how we should structure our things in like a perfect way. And I think, and also like from a feminine perspective, we are meant to flow more than just having it all structured. But yeah, since we are in times like this, I would definitely want to bring up more, let's say, like, how would you, like, some advice, or in general, just your perspective on like how can people handle the mental, like, health issues right now, or just in general the anxiety, overwhelming feeling, and just the feeling of uncertainty that is currently bombarding us.
Yes, I think it's definitely change. I mean, the world is changing as we know it, and a lot of people, unfortunately, are facing a lot of problems, financial problems, and mental problems, and it is affecting every single one of us. Even if we really want to put the glasses on and pretend I don't watch news, I don't want to hear anything, it is still affecting us, and it will continue to affect us. And I think that, just the way I said about the fears, we need to, because it's another fear, so we need to accept it as it is happening in our life, but we've got to move on, and we've got to live our life, and we still got to work on our careers, look for our thing, see what we can do about the job market. We still have to build families, we still have to date, we still have to love, and life really goes on. It's just we have to do it in more safer way. But I would say one step at a time, and be gentle to yourself, be loving to yourself, and try to share more love, because giving really makes your heart expand, and you will feel better about yourself. And I think this is the best time to share your thoughts with the world, your message, that you always wanted to share. Now is the time, because truly we don't know what's 2021 will bring to us. We don't know, but we never really knew that anyway. So we still have to continue to move on. And I think it's a great time to reflect on what is that we really want in our life, and how we want to be, how we want to show up, and what we want to achieve. I think it's a great time to work on yourself, and to invest in yourself, and also be gentle towards yourself, because yes, the energy right now is not the most vibrant, but because the world is changing, we need to change with it. It's the only way.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I feel like this whole situation is definitely pushing a lot of triggers, and like that's something that we have to be aware that, you know, every relationship is there to teach us something. Every single person, like you mentioned this beautifully in book, that every single person that we encounter, whether it's like just on a friendship basement, or just like relationship or whatever, or just in general family, is every single person is an important mirror for us and has something important to teach us. And I feel like during this time right now, like we are kind of forced to, maybe spend more time with the closest ones. And I know it's like for you, I bet you don't have any issues with that when it comes to your kids. But what about the relationship? Is there a different dynamic now?
I mean, we definitely moved past dating stage when you have children, but it is still two humans in the relationship, and so two humans, they always need to be themselves in any kind of relationship, and I think is the success formula for a long-term relationship in general. We cannot be controlling, we have to be loving, we have to give more than try to expect. And in our relationship, I don't know, it's beautiful to see at our kids and be like, wow, these humans, we made them, you know. It's because like they would not be here today if that was not for you and me meeting each other on Tinder. So I think, I think every love story is different, and the way we meet people is like, I would never think I would meet my baby daddy on Instagram, on Tinder, you know. But that happened that way, and I mean, I'm really happy and he's happy. So it's we have to drop this expectation, you know, where we meet the person, as I mentioned earlier, but also when we are in a relationship and when we do have a family, it's a different dynamic. But as long as you keep the mutual respect and love, and when you have children, it's beautiful because they're like mini versions of both of you, mini cocktails walking around. And I think really I can only feel grateful for what I have, and I really wish that more and more people would experience this. And and if I can inspire anyone in any way, I'm here.
I think you're just doing that. So what about how do you take time for recharging? I know it's probably a bit challenging sometimes, but
yeah, it definitely is, especially in this period when my book just came out and we just moved, and it has been a lot in 2020. But I try to find a moment of the day when the babies are sleeping, or now that we are in Italy and my partner's parents are here, so we sometimes can leave the children to them because it's such a joy for them to spend time with their grandkids. And for us, it gives the time to recharge as a couple, and it gives me time to recharge as a person. And I actually do need to spend a lot of time on my own to feel great, but I'm trying to work with what I have when I have. Even if it's just 10 minutes. I do not meditate. I do not write a journal, although I know that I should because it really makes you feel better. But I just honestly do nothing, like stare at the window. Like that is my form of meditation, or go on a walk. That is my peaceful moment.
That's beautiful. I think it's just important that everyone finds their own time. I mean, their own things that are working for finding your center. And in the end of the day, I like to say that there are different periods in different times. You know, it's like when you have two little kids, life looks so much different. I can't even imagine right now. So it's another level, and of course there are certain stuff that you can get so totally sidetracked, but then they're growing up and things
Yeah.
up. So.
Yeah, and it definitely, to me, that really gives me a lot of meaning. I think since I've become a mom, it in general gave me a lot of meaning to my life. I treasure my life more. I don't want to waste my time as much as I did in the past. So yeah, it's definitely, I mean, you just, as with everything, you have to find a way that works for you. I'm still working on it, but I think I'm getting there slowly.
I think it's always just trial and error. It's just that we learn. I forgot to mention before that people can ask questions. So if anyone has anything to ask us, you can write the question below. I'll check the comments. I wasn't even checking them.
Yeah. And I do remember that in one of our previous conversations, you did say something about the fact that I did mention in the book that you should never follow, what was it? Never follow.
The one that I shouldn't forget. Thank you for bringing it up. I said that you should follow your dreams rather than a man.
Yes. So you related to that quote. Me, however, I read this quote that was actually by Lady Gaga. And she said, if you wonder, how was it? If some women choose to follow men and some women choose to follow their dreams. If you wonder which way you should go, remember that your career will never wake up and tell you that it does not love you anymore.
Wow.
And to me, that was, wow, that's gold, you know, and just in general, I mean, as a young girl, I also made mistakes and, you know, followed relationship because I put the relationship first before my dreams and what I wanted to be, because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be. So I thought maybe someone else is gonna give me idea, like, you know, a boyfriend. But of course, the older I've got, the more I realized when it was not when the relationship was not a vibrational match for me, and I was just wasting my time. But it's so easy to get soaked in that. But as women, we need to get reminded, especially as young women, we need to get reminded that we have to work on ourselves, and the right person will stick. I mean, we'll be there supporting us, we'll be there lifting us, and we'll be there inspiring us.
And I also believe that you will find the right person on your path when you follow your dreams. You know, you will get, I mean, you're vibrationally working on yourself, and you will be a match on that path, much better match than you would be on if you just chase one guy and just follow it.
So. Yes. And I think there should be, I don't know, I wish there was someone like banging on my door when I was like 20 something and be like, why are you wasting your time? But didn't happen that way. Well, that's why I wrote Soulgirl. Exactly for that, because I wished there was something like that. So I basically wrote it for myself, for my earlier version of self.
I would say the same. Like when I was reading the book, a lot of things were already like, yes, I needed to overcome this. Yes, I needed to learn this lesson. If I would get to this book in my when I was 20 years old, 21, something like that would be like, I feel like every girl that is at that age is like, I would give them this book, because it's like, yeah, the important questions that you have to ask yourself. And like, I still believe that I would probably do the same stupid mistakes again, even though if someone would tell me and be like, hey, you shouldn't do that. But I have to say that I actually never really moved for a man. I know you did. But I was always like, my moves to move somewhere were always like, I want to go there, I have to go. There was always something coming from within. But in general, it doesn't really matter. It's just like when you have that huge feeling of like going, it's when you go. You should.
Yeah, I mean, you have to trust your instinct, but when you are 22 or 3, you also have to understand you have your whole life ahead, and there is so much you need to do, and most likely you anyways not going to have babies and family until you're 30. I mean, nowadays is rarely, and therefore I think those love stories that really people meet in when they're 20 or when they are in high school and they end up together are so not many anymore, and that's why I think we need to follow our heart, but more so in our pursuits, in our creative endeavors, rather than love stories, because love stories may be there, may not, but your career, however, that will probably stay with you forever. So even if you change, but I mean, in the core of who you are as a person. So
exactly. Yeah. There is also one more quote that I wrote down, and that is, "No one but me knows what is best for me."
Yes.
It's one of the, I think it's in the very last chapter.
Yes.
I think my earphones died. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hope there was gonna be no echo. But basically, the thing is, what was the question again?
No one but me knows what's best.
Yes, because your soul is this ancient part of you that you carry from one lifetime to the next. And even if your family, your friends, they wish you well and they love you so much, they will never know what's best for you. Only you know, if you tune into your feelings, and your feelings are the way how your soul is communicating to you, either to go for this thing or not to go for it. And I think also the body language, when you think of a decision that should I do this or should I do that? And when you are faced with this dilemma, you really need to imagine yourself in this one situation and see what are you thinking and what is your body responding. Is it shrinking? Is it trying to protect yourself from this situation? Or is it the opposite, is expanding and wanting to go into this? It's excited about this new thing, this new opportunity. So that is also signals that your soul is communicating to you, and therefore it's only you know what's best for you.
Yes. And I will even add the other thing that we have in common is that we would rather just do all the stupid mistakes than live with regret. And I think it's that's a second part, when you feel like something is right for you, you have to take action. That's like no matter how small is the action, I just feel like this is something that, if anyone would ask me what is my biggest secret for all the lessons that I learned, is when I had a stupid idea what I want to do, and it felt illogical for everyone around me, but it felt true to myself, I did it. That's the only thing that helped me, learn all the lessons, probably.
Yeah, for sure. You need to trust yourself no matter what, because you are the only one that knows what's right for you. But when it comes to relationships, however, you always have to think, I have my whole life ahead of me. And if these are the only two takeaways that you take away from here, I think are the two most important ones, because then we save our mental health, and we're more available for the right relationship, for the right people, and for the right places and situations that we are meant to reach.
That's beautiful. Do you have or I will say, where can people get your book?
Yes, so my book Soulgirl is available currently in Amazon. So I don't know how it is in your country, but basically you can also get it in the closest Amazon of your country, like If you live close to UK, so you can go on Amazon UK, or you can go on Amazon US. I am in Italy, so there is an Italian Amazon. You can get it in Spain, France, and etc. The only thing is, the more further you are from that center, the more you will pay for shipping, I guess. But you can also get it as the version that you read, which was the ebook, and then it's available instantly. There is no shipping. The only thing is you don't get it to hold. So that is, or if you have Kindle, you can read it on Kindle. I think it's a great present as well for every single girl, or in the relationship. I think all the aspects that are covered in this book are really about things that every woman should know. And even not if you are in your 20s, I mean, even later, because I do talk about the soul so much. That is always stays with us, even in our 30s, 40s, and so on. So we really need to start tuning in. And I think 2020 is a challenging time, but also a time when we really can start listening and tuning in and more understanding ourselves. When it comes to fears, just host them and tell them, come in.
Exactly, that's beautiful. Yeah, I definitely agree that this book is not only for people that are, women that are starting their personal development journey or whatever, because even though I'm working in that field and I read all the possible books, it's still there were stuff that I was yeah, of course I know about this, but it's I believe that there is a problem that comes as soon as you say, oh, I know this, I've heard. Yeah. Because then you are not receptive, you don't let it in again. And there is a beautiful, beautiful gift that you can get if the lessons or the learnings are repeated. And that's why I also want to read books that are maybe like yours. There was a couple of things that gave me total new perspective, and there were a couple of things that were kind of just refreshment of things. But since I read it from a perspective of okay, I'm just gonna, this came for me, and it's meant for me to read it right now, and I'm gonna see what I'm getting. Like I said, it gave me powerful healing with my older version of self.
And I think that things that keep coming to your way is a sign as well. It's a sign that there is something you need to work on, or a sign that you are attracting this kind of material, this kind of copy, or kind of people that are talking about these things, and we definitely need to have more open mind, because we never know what perspective we can get from a different person saying the same things, and also because sometimes it takes a decade to arrive to a decision. And so maybe you need to repeatedly hear the same stuff from many, many people until you actually be now I get it. I've got it. I need to do it now. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any last advice or anything that your soul want to share with our audience today?
The only thing that my soul wants to share is be yourself. Don't afraid. Don't be scared. Go for things that your heart is telling you to do. Never ever hesitate your knowing, your inner wisdom that you have within you. It's the strongest source that you have. And advise anything that you need to. Don't run to your friends, question, what should I do with my life? Run to yourself, run under the covers, and sit there and think and try to really listen, because listening is so hard, you guys, but we need to tune in and listen. And this year has been challenging. This is why we need to switch on everything and go into our den and really listen what our heart and what our soul is telling us to do, and how to proceed. So that's my last message.
And that's a beautiful one. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure for me as well. And we can do this more often. I think we have definitely other topics that we could cover as well. So who knows what the future brings.
Yes, for sure. I'm happy to talk about this stuff just like you are. And I think when we are so passionate about the subject, we can keep talking about it. So yes, do things that you love and do with heart. I'm sure we're gonna see again.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.